It is a beautiful morning in the mountains of southern Appalachia. Already a little warm though, so today may be one of those warm days Matt was warning me about. But today is the day we're finally going to plant our raised beds. We added dirt to them a couple of weeks ago, and then we were never able to get time to add the compost. So that's what we're going to try to focus on today, is adding compost. I think we've got 5 raised beds. The other ones down below already have stuff growing in them, our garlic from last fall, so we can't add anything to those. But we're going to get these 5, the compost in them, and then see what we can plant in them. Got one down. It makes it lickety split with the tractor. We do still have to haul it up in buckets, but that's so much easier than using a wheelbarrow. We got all the beds filled, took a little break. I went in and found what I went over with Matt, what he said he didn't care, but what we think we're going to plant in the beds. So we have 3 beds that don't have a trellis in them, and then 2 of them back here does. This one on this far end right behind me here. So that will depend on what we're going to plant in them. Now I found some, I don't know where to start. Let's see. Well, in one of those beds, we're going to put the southern peas, the Mississippi pink eye. It's a bush pea, and we really adore them. This will be about the 3rd year that we've grew those, and we just love them. They're so good. And I brought out I had one little pack of purple whole peas, purple whole. They're about the same. It's hard to tell the difference. And they're also a bush. So in case I don't have enough seed of the Mississippi pink eye, I brought those. So that will be in one of those raised beds that does not have the trellis. Also in one of those beds, I have these that Susie Vonderleith sent me. Canierly yellow eye bush bean and a painted pony bush bean. And I forgot, let me go back to what I had before. Someone asked me if I would show the envelopes, and I always forget, but you can see that was the red hull in case we don't have enough. Now the Mississippi pink eye don't really have anything on it. It just doesn't have a photo or anything. But for these that Susie sent us, this is the painted pony. That looks really great, don't it? Really a beautiful bean, tasty. Says it's, you can eat it, the long stringless pods are perfect for snap beans, but you can leave them on the vine to dry, so I think that'll be great. And then the Canierly yellow eye bush bean there, that one is really pretty, and it looks so much similar. It's very similar to the one that me and Matt grew last year, which was the one from Debbie, now I've done forgot her first name, Bradley, mystery bean from Cherokee. So those will be, I'm really interested in those. For the one with the trellis, I found some of, this one's just one from Debbie, so nothing on the front of it, but Cherokee pole bean. But when you open when you look at the beans, talk about pretty. I don't know if you can, let's see if you can see if if I show them that way, if you can see the different, some of them look like lima beans, some of them look like pinto beans, some of them look like, there's the black bean. I didn't get any in this handful, but there is some in there that look like white half runners too, that just look like a regular bean. So I'm really excited about those. Cherokee pole bean. So looks like just a mixture. Then the other one we're going to grow from Debbie is the one that we liked so much we grew last year, but we just didn't grow very many of them. That was the Holstein pea. So here's some of the seed. You can see there, if I can get the camera to focus on it, you can see the little black and white, looks like a little Holstein cow. And these actually tasted a whole lot like black-eyed peas, but we liked them a lot. So we're going to plant the other part of that trellis in them. I also found some hyacinth bean. I've grew those before, not to eat, but just for the flower. But Lisa Beasley sent me these. This is a really, really beautiful pack. You can see how lovely that is. But those are just for, I mean, they are edible. You can eat them, but I've only grew them just because I think the flowers are pretty. So I might put one or two of those on that trellis, just one at each end or something like that. And then in the other bed, raised bed down here that doesn't have a trellis, we're going to do sweet potatoes. We've not grown sweet potatoes in forever, and we probably only grew them maybe once, maybe twice, but probably just one time. And it was because I think it was my Uncle Henry brought me some plants. I didn't really, it wasn't that I was planning on planting them, but he brought them and then I planted them. And I did grow sweet potatoes, but I never planted them again. So this year I decided I would, and so I ordered, these are the Beauregard organic sweet potato slips. That was one variety. There's not very many of them. And then the white bonita, those are the ones I really was interested in growing. And just 6 of each is all I got, and they didn't ship until this week. We just got them right now. And the white ones were the ones I was most interested in growing because those are the ones that I like the best. And if you've never had a white sweet potato, it's sweet, but it's not as sweet as the orange ones, in my opinion. You'll have to tell me what you think if you are familiar with them. And it seems like they're always smaller, too. They're a smaller sweet potato. Now, when I was a girl, Granny and Pap, most of the time we had arse taters, what we call arse taters, but if they did have sweet taters, they really loved those white ones, so that's probably why I really love them. And Pap had a friend who just lived down the road here in Brasstown, Clyde Ash, and I think either he grew them or he had access to them, because a lot of times it seems like that's where our white sweet potatoes come from. Maybe he loved them as much as Pap and Granny, and just grew them. And I'm not sure why Pap and Granny never tried to grow them, but in my memory, unless I'm forgetting, I'll have to ask Granny, I never remember them trying to grow sweet potatoes. We're going to put the Mississippi pink eyes in this one. Matt, you want to make me a little, we didn't even bring a hoe or nothing, but make me 2 little rows. You got the built-in hoe, Matt says. Our hands are our best tools for sure. Yeah, we had enough. 1 or 2 to spare. I was afraid we'd run out. We'll put the sweet potatoes in this one. I don't guess it matters. We could do 1 row and 1 row. You want to do that? 1 row of white, 1 row of orange. See all those little roots? That looks great. Mm-hmm. Had them soaking in water. I'm going to put the bush beans in this one. This is Pretty big bed. I forgot that some of them are different sizes. How did we do that? You just took pieces from one and made some of them larger than others?
Yeah.
Oh, I should have went. I need to go get me a little marker so we'll know which is which. I'll be right back. Huh?
So you're all into them being pretty.
I am. I like when when the seed is really pretty. I love it. Look at these, how pretty these are. So pretty. So I think in this first one, I'll put the Cherokee pole bean. I am going to put one of in the front of the hyacinth bean, just to make it pretty. Matt said I'm all into it being pretty. Actually, I think I'm going to put one at each end. And then I'm going to plant those beautiful Cherokee pole beans. We're about done with the raised beds, and this one's our last one. We're going to put the Holstein pea. Forgot to add my hyacinth bean. Another thing that we was going to put in those raised beds was the peppers, a few peppers and a few tomatoes that we had never managed to get planted. I've about let them die on us. But we're going to put one of the peppers just in the middle of these gypsy peppers, which are doing really, really good. And what kind? Do you remember what kind? Or let me read. I don't remember. It's an orange bell pepper. We'll put it right in the center there. It's already got one little pepper on it, but it was going to die. It was so root bound in the cup that it would come in. And Matt's going to put one of the jalapenos, at least one, in here. Again, one of them looks about dead. I think I've let one of them die. Matt will be disappointed. That's his favorite. That one looks pretty good, though. Maybe it'll take off. I'm going to put... There's a little. You gonna put another one?
Yep.
This is normally where we put our peppers, but this year we were changing things up. But Matt's gonna add the last one right here, just so we can say those things are planted. I can quit forgetting to water them and almost letting them die. We may regret this, but we're gonna put this bumblebee tomato right here at the end. Can't really walk through there anymore anyway since we put the raised bed. Let me see if I can find some Epsom salt, or you want to just go for it? Just put it in there. Poor thing, we ain't giving it a fighting chance, are we? Although it's pretty stout, or it wouldn't have lived this long, being neglected in its cup.
I can't even get to it.
Matt's gonna have to be a contortionist to get to there. Since we're working on the raised beds today, I've come down to this one that's full of, well, it's got some weeds in it now, but it's got feverfew, valerian, and stinging nettle in it. And I'm going to cut those things back that are just, they've just got so big that they're just falling over. Well, that looks a lot better. Actually gave the feverfew, some of it's blooming there and some of it's about to, gave it room to grow. Cut back the valerian, it'll come right back out. I didn't cut back the stinging nettle. I'm just going to leave it down there. I did cut back the dock and some of the self-heal and got out some of the weeds. But I made a fatal mistake. I pulled up accidentally one of my coneflowers that's just about to bloom. I hate that. I used to have coneflowers and they did really good for me, and then for years I've not been able to grow them. And here this one is that was about to bloom, and I pulled it up. I think instead of putting it back in here, I'm going to take it just so I can remember it and put it maybe in Katie's little flower bed where her poppies are, and that way I can remember to water it, and maybe I'll still get to see it bloom. I'm happy to see most all of the squash and the pumpkins that we planted have come up. Here's a couple more mounds of them. I didn't mark any of these because I know what they are. Once they start growing, I will know what they are. But they're the green white striped cushaw, Chambers Creek pumpkin, some butternut, and candy roasters. And I think that was all. I might have to go back and watch my own video to see. But once it starts growing, it was all things that we really love. It wasn't anything new that we were trying. I'll be able to tell what it is. I have a surprise for Matt today. Not his typical grape. Taste it and see what you think. Pineapple. We've not tried pineapple.
That's good. I love pineapple.
It is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Is it right up there with your grape?
Yeah, the best part about this is it ain't freezer burnt.
Those the grape ones I've been feeding you freezer burn.
I think it was last year's. These are soft.
These are creamier like the coconut, like the suntan lotion. They're creamy. They're good.
Yep.
Last week or sometime when we were sitting right here, I don't know if this plant shows up today behind Matt, but several people asked what was this Jurassic Park-like plant by Matt. It's clary sage. It's about to bloom, so it'll be interesting to see what the bloom is like. We planted it last year, planted it like for a medicinal plant. You can use it for different things, but we did not ever harvest it or do anything with it. We've got bugs on our camera. Anyway, that's what it is, clary sage. Feel good to get all that done?
Yeah.
I think that was our last, well, I said that. I was going to say that's our last planting, but then I forgot we got those two places down at the big garden. We may not get them planted. Bees are after Matt already. We may not plant nothing in those. Just call it done.
Yeah, late as it is, I believe I would. We've got more to do now than we can keep up with.
Yeah. Well, not if things would quit tearing up. Would be all right.
Yeah.
Once you get the heat and air fixed, that didn't tear up. That was a new job in the well. The well, Matt did get the well fixed. He had to pull the pump. Matt used to work in the well business, so he kind of knew what to check for, and you were hoping it was something really simple, but it was not.
No.
It was the pump. It seized up. It was, how, you think that was the original pump, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. It's been in there a while. From the looks of it, I mean, it's all these wells around here's got iron in them, and there was so much iron built up on it, it's been in there a while.
Depending on, I mean, the pump is hard to get out. Most of the time you have a machine or something, right? Is there something that pulls it out, like well businesses do?
Yeah, they got a boom truck that they pull them with. I don't particularly have one of those.
No, but Matt did, like he mostly does. He could be an engineer. He come up with a way to use the tractor. You can explain it, because I sure can't. What'd you do?
I'll just put if you're going to pull it by hand, you're usually pulling, once you get you begin to come out of the top of the well with it, then you've got to go through the yard or down the driveway or something with it, and you're kind of pulling at a 90-degree angle, and you by yourself, you can't really do that. If you had two people, one person could be above the well pulling straight up, and the other person could be carrying all the pipe. But it was just me, so I put a 50-gallon barrel, I ratchet strapped it in the bucket of the tractor and drove it right over top of the well, pulled the pipe up over that barrel and let it ride on that barrel. And it was still a little too hard for me to pull, so I took a 4-wheeler winch and rigged me up a strap that would bite into the pipe, and then just backed up with the 4-wheeler and pulled it as far as I could, and then unhooked it and drove back up and got another bite on the pipe with the strap, and kept doing that until I finally got it pulled out. So it worked. It's a little rednecked, but it worked.
That's all that matters, right?
Water's back on.
Yeah. And Corey's happy.
Yeah.
Matt's happy it's over. So the tractor saves the day again.
That thing's been quite handy.
So handy today, like doing just the compost, even though we still had to carry it up the bank. I'm like, how did we ever do this with a wheelbarrow? We did, though.
Yeah, we did. We did it
for many, many
all
years.
them years up until last year. I'm glad we don't have to do it anymore.
It's helped with all kinds of things.
It was a good investment.
For sure. Talking about saving your back, someone recently asked this earlier this week in a comment that they dealt with back problems, and asked if me or Matt did. I'm so sorry, anybody that does. My brother Steve, my older brother Steve, he has a bad back, and he just has to be careful with everything he does. And then, but it sometimes, I mean, he worked for what, 30 years in the gas company, crawling under houses and all kinds of stuff, putting in natural gas. Is that what it's called? Propane? What's it called? Propane. Anyway, but so he had to try to be careful. But then lots of times, what made this, he would throw his back out putting his pants on or something like that. You know, if you have a bad back, you never know what it's going to take to what it does. But thankfully, me and Matt don't have to deal with that these days. But when me and Matt was, I guess we haven't been married too long, but Corey and Katie, we had Corey and Katie, they were little. And Daddy and Matt were working together then, and they were working, where was you working? Did you hurt your back doing those doors or the sheetrock? I can't remember.
I was carrying sheetrock in a house we had built. And I didn't even have to be carrying it. The building supply people come. And it was late in the evening, and there was a whole lot of sheetrock, and there were only 2 of them. So I pitched in and helped them, and that stuff's heavy, and they was carrying it in 2 pieces at a time in a pack, and quite heavy. So something I did to it, wrenched it out doing that, and then I just kept working and went on to another job, and it was pretty bad by then. And it was another job where we had to carry. We're actually putting solid core wood doors in a school.
Was it the new Martins Creek School, the new one, not the old one that's gone, but the one that's there now was when it was first being built.
And there was like 200 or 300 doors in the whole school, and we contracted to hang all the doors, and we had to carry every one of them and handle them, and that kind of done me in. And I got down and one morning I couldn't get up, couldn't get out of bed. And that was scary with a new house and new babies. And
I didn't work. I didn't even clean houses or babysit or anything
know
in
what we
those
was gonna
days
do.
because Corey and Katie was real little.
that was scary.
Yeah.
And it took about 3 months to get where I could go back to work. I was out of work about 3 months, seems like. And finally went to a chiropractor to start with, and that didn't help. But I ended up getting, I think, to a physical therapist, wasn't it?
Yeah, Miss Cindy. She
she
still lived in Black Mountain in those days.
And she found me somebody, and I made a couple of trips to him and just immediately got better. And got to where I could go back to work, and had to be careful with it for a while, but once it got better, I mean, I've had a sore back and stuff like that, but I've never been injured like that since. And what that ended up being was a pull muscle that had inflamed and was pushing on a nerve. And it went all the way down my leg into my foot. And that was pretty miserable.
Mm-hmm. It's a scary time, Matt being out of work. And I remember I had to put a house payment on a credit card. Those were, but Matt thankfully got better. Miss Cindy, I think she even come out here, and I think she went with you to a doctor out here, and then she's like, so she got you in with the, what was his name, Rick?
Rick, great guy.
Yeah,
And
right in Asheville. He was in Asheville. I still remember where his little office was.
you know, I ended up going to him a few times later on for other things, but that was the only time I really was injured so bad I just couldn't work. I couldn't even get up.
Yeah.
And gosh, that was a bad feeling. And I was still in my late 20s at that time, I think, so I was still pretty young.
Yeah. The doctor here basically give you some pain pills and.
Yeah, I went to actually went down to the hospital and had x-rays during this process before I went to Rick. And I remember the doctor there asking me, had I been in a car wreck? And I said, years ago, I mean, not anything major. And he wanted to know why. I asked him why, and he said, because your spine looks like somebody's been in a wreck, because it's, you know, the vertebra were kinked one way and the next one above it was kinked another way, and it was like that all the way up. I actually saw the x-ray and I looked at it and thought, my gosh, I've got problems. And all that was just from work.
Yeah.
You know, and
when we were cleaning out Miss Cindy's house, I found, you know, a big, they don't even, today if you have x-rays done, they give it to you on a CD, but back then it was a big giant envelope, and I opened it to see what it was and seen it was, I said, oh, it's x-rays, it's some kind of x-rays of Miss Cindy's, and so I was pulling them out, looking at them, trying to figure out, one of them was of a knee, and I thought, well, I remember she did, like, years and years ago, not since she lived out here, had some knee problems, and then something, I was turning over the other one, and somehow I seen Matt Presley, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is not Miss Cindy, this is you, Matt, it's your back. And I don't know how she ended up, maybe she had took it with Rick and she just kept it, I don't know. But anyway, it was Matt's back, so we were all looking at Matt's vertebrae.
And you could see it,
yeah,
you?
Yeah.
It was kinked
up.
up.
We were all looking at Matt's back, but thank goodness, praise the Lord, Matt got over that. But I feel so bad for anybody that deals with that, because it's like you can't really lay down because it hurts, but you can't work. I mean, because of Steve having to deal with this his whole life, I really know it's bad. Misery, real misery.
A lot of people deal with it all their life, and mine was bad, but it didn't last long. It was just a few months, and I got over it, and then never really had any problems like that again. And I'm glad, because that's a misery.
Matt's stepmother Janet, she has what's it called, degenerative disc disease.
Yeah,
so she's you know, couldn't even work because of it. So, and she's had to have multiple back surgeries. It's just I feel really bad for anybody that has to deal with that. But thankfully, like Matt said, we might get a sore back a little bit, but so don't have to deal with that on a regular basis.
Right.
And the tractor will even help with our sore backs.
Yeah, it might make me soft enough to like hurt myself. I don't know.
Maybe not. You're still pretty active.
Yeah.
We had some visitors in the yard last night. I don't know if it was, I'm assuming it was more than one. One wouldn't have just been out there making racket. It was raccoons, or coons as we would say, but we were in the bed and I was reading. Matt had already fell asleep, and it's so funny, in the old days Matt couldn't sleep through anything. And I'm laying there reading and I hear it. Sounds like, at first I was thinking it was Katie doing something in her room, you know, getting up and having to move something. It almost sounded mechanical in a way, but then it kept getting louder, and then I realized, oh, that's not coming from the house, that's outside. Mine and Matt's windows open about like that. I thought, that's outside. And then I thought, oh, I know what that is. It's coons and fighting or playing or doing something. I don't know what they was doing. And a few minutes I kept reading after I realized what it was, wasn't worried about it. Katie come to the door and she's like, are you playing something on your phone or something? I said, no, do you hear that noise? She said, yeah, I hear it. And I said, I think it's coons out in the yard. I don't know what they're doing. I hope they're not tearing up my garden. But no sign of damage this morning, so. But Matt's funny that he slept through that, and he slept through Katie coming in and asking me what I thought it was.
Well, that's good. I'm used to not be able to sleep that good.
No, used to Matt would have woke Matt up, and then he wouldn't have been able to go back to sleep. I figured they might have been trying to get into the chickens, but I don't think you didn't see no sign of that. It sounded like they were just right here, right under mine and Matt's window. It sounded like they was real close. Maybe they were fighting or playing. Or maybe they're plotting to get in our corn as soon as it gets big.
Yeah, it's up here making a plan.
Warning us, we're coming.
Yeah.
We're coming for your corn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's an interesting sound.
It is. They're a fierce little critter when they want to be.
I figured it was two of them fussing with each other.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe saying, that's my corn. No, that's going to be my corn.
When in fact, it's mine.
Yeah.
And they better get used to knowing that.
You're going to make sure they know it.
Absolutely.
I think the heat has finally arrived.
Yeah, for good.
Probably for good, yeah.
I'm eagerly awaiting the next frost.
You got a ways to wait.
Yeah, I know, but I have
But if you didn't have heat, you couldn't have tomatoes. You couldn't have a tomato sandwich. You couldn't have corn.
I know.
So you got to suffer through it. Matt needs like a bodysuit that just pushes hot air or cold air on him all the time.
Yeah.
Then you couldn't work though, because then you couldn't move.
Yeah.
So you just stuck with sweating.
What would be ideal is if I sat in the house where the air conditioner was and watched you out the window.
Yeah.
And then you could bring me those tomatoes when they're ready to eat, and I could make my sandwich.
You wouldn't even have to go out in the heat to get them.
I think that'd be a pretty nice arrangement.
I don't know. I'd miss you awful bad though.
Yeah.
I'd miss hearing you complain about how hot it is.
Yeah. That's all I do is gripe about the heat.
Oh, I'd miss your.
It's miserable though.
I'd miss your company and your hard work. Of course, I couldn't do the tractor. You still ain't taught me how to drive it.
Well, we need to get on it and I'll show you.
I'm too afraid to.
Why the thing's just like driving a car?
Yeah.
It's actually easier.
You think so?
Why, yeah.
It's so big, though.
It's very easy to drive. See, that'd be another thing. I could look out the window and watch you scraping the driveway and shoveling or scooping dirt with it, and
Yeah.
while I eat my sandwich.
You'd just be eating your. I could put you a stool by the window so you could just go from window to window watching me work.
Yeah. When you go by one window, I'll go the next one.
I don't think you'd enjoy that as much as you think you would.
That's true.
You like to be up and at 'em.
Mm-hmm. I did think about, though, seriously, about buying a sunshade for that thing.
You need one, yeah. You need one.
I mean, it had to help a little bit.
Yeah, you're still going to be hot, but that would help. Yeah.
Put that on the list.
Are they like metal, or are they? I guess you can get different kinds.
I think
or
they're
are
about fiberglass.
Fiberglass, or
And they
something.
mount to that.
I don't guess
rollover.
metal would be real cool, would it? Just be baking you.
They mount to that rollover bar. I could make one and use that tin out there in the woods off our house. That'd be, and I've seen those like that.
Yeah.
People make them themselves. Probably because the actual ones you buy made for the tractor are probably expensive.
Yeah, probably. You could rig you up some kind of fabric one.
We used to put on some of the jobs at places I worked that had forklifts, we'd put a piece of plywood, because we was usually out in the rain on them.
Yeah.
And we'd drill holes in the plywood and just zip tie through the cage and zip tie it down to the roof of the thing. That'd keep a little bit of the rain and a little bit of the sun off of you.
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
Mm-hmm.
Did your employers not frown upon that?
We didn't care. We just done it anyway. I mean, we're the ones on them,
Yeah.
It kind of impeded being able to, if you had to lift something
up.
real high, you can look through that cage and see what you're doing. With the plywood, you had to lean out and see what you was doing.
That's the only thing about wearing a hat. Like when I wear a hat, I'm glad because it keeps the sun off my face and helps me feel a little bit cooler. Just the heat, the sun not beating down on your head. But I forget that I can't look, and I run into stuff, and my vision's gone. Reminds me of when Queen Katie, after they outgrew their little toddler beds, Matt built them some bunk beds, and one went this way and one went the other way. I'm not describing it good.
And the lower one was on one wall, and then the upper one came down another wall and went over it.
Yeah. So when I had to change and we had those till what? They were 16 or something,
Yeah,
15.
something
I mean, they
like
slept
that.
in those bunk beds. And so which by then, of course, they could make up their own bed, but lots of years of me having to make up those beds and change the sheets and stuff. And I cannot count the times that I hit my head on the one on top. And it'd make me so mad. And I'd just do it again the next time, not paying attention. And I'd about knock myself out once or twice.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd make me so mad. We really got the worth out of those, though. Matt built them. That was like a Christmas present or something, wasn't it? And they were so excited about it.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think it was Christmas. And then, of course, you had to, who was going to sleep on top. That had to be an argument. But Corey slept on top and Katie slept on the bottom. And lots of falls and pushing and shoving on the ladder over the years. But eventually, when they wanted to be done with them, Matt actually took them apart. And then the one that was on the wall that way, he turned it around where it was on one wall, and then the top one we put on the opposite wall.
On the floor.
On the floor, yeah. So then it was just two beds on the floor.
Reuse the same ones, just in a different configuration.
Which was really neat for me and Matt, because that's how Corey and Katie, when they were born, we had two cribs, but they stayed in one crib until they got to where they were pushing and pulling on each other, and then we put them in, separated them, and that's how their cribs were. So it's almost like, okay, you're too big for bunk beds, but now you're going back to where you was at when you was babies. Anyway, they slept in those for a long time, and then eventually Corey decided she wanted to be in her own room, and so she went into what we called the dangerous room, and that was her room.
Yeah, they got into their fiercely independent, hateful stage and had to have their own room. We had to rearrange the whole house for that.
When they were young, like say 8 or 9 or something like that, they would get mad at each other and they'd want their own room. And we had an extra room, so that was always possible. But I'd always tell whichever one it was, okay, that's fine, you can have that room, but you just go ahead, you sleep, because we had a twin bed in there, like when Matt's mom come, or his dad and Janet, or anybody. I said, you just go ahead and sleep in that bed tonight, and then, we'll get on that tomorrow. In other words, wanting them to prove to me they could never. By the time bedtime come, it was all they's made up, and they didn't want to be away from each other again. Neither one of them could never manage to even attempt to go to bed in there.
No.
They never even made it to actually lay down on the bed like they were really going to sleep in there. Until they finally did when they got older.
Yeah.
Good times.
I guess.
Well, you got the worth out of those beds, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I thankfully didn't ever give myself a concussion, although I think I come close once or twice.
I think that's why one of your eyes goes the other way.
Probably. Well, I feel really good about getting our raised beds finally planted, and the only thing I wanted to plant that I could not find was Papaw, Ed Ammons. He sent me some brown beans that I had sent him, and then he grew them. I'd sent him some beans, and then he grew them and saved some of the seed, and some of them were brown. And I have them, I know, I just could not lay my hand on them this morning. So hopefully I will find those, and I might stick them in a pot or somewhere. But I could not find them when I was looking for those this morning. I've laid them somewhere, and probably right in front of my face, but that's how it goes. If it'd been a snake, it'd bit me. But other than that, I think maybe you're right in that we should just forego the rest of the big garden, and there it'll be.
There's plenty to do down there.
Yeah, so.
And it needs doing now.
And it's getting later and later and later, so. And we did manage to get the pumpkins and some squash up here. And there's still room up here we could plant. I could plant a few more pumpkins or whatever I wanted up here.
Right.
But that may be good.
We got plenty to
I
do.
just can't wait to start eating it, can't you?
It'll be nice.
It's going to be exciting. We have cucumber blooms, and we got bean blooms, we got tomato setting fruit, so it's not going to be long.
No, it's not. I want a couple of batches of those fried green tomatoes too before they get ripe. I want to fry some of those.
Yeah, I skimp on the fried tomatoes for Matt because I don't like them, so I don't think about cooking them, but I need to. I made you some, though. I make you some every year. I just don't do it often.
Well, we don't want to use up all of them.
Yeah.
You know. But I sure do like them.
You like them, and Austin likes them.
Nobody else here will eat them. Well,
I mean, they're okay, but I'd much rather have a fried squash or a fried zucchini or something. Fried okra. I'd rather have that.
I like them because you get that crispy fried taste, but you get that tart.
Yeah.
And I like.
You like tart stuff
Yeah,
more
I do.
than me. I'm got a sweet tooth. I like the sweet.
Well, I do too. I like all of it.
We're always glad when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia, and we hope you'll keep stopping by so you'll eventually get to see us eat some of this wonderful bounty from our garden. You like the pineapple?
Yeah, it's good. You tried lemon too.
Yeah.
Somebody said something about
Yeah,
lemon.
and lime. It seems like you tried lime and you liked it okay. I can't remember. But that pineapple's good. It's as good as the coconut, and I like the peach. You don't like it, and the grape.
I like that grape awful well.
Grape reminds me of Kool-Aid.
That's why I like it. I love Kool-Aid. Just don't ever drink it.
I like I don't know, coconut and peach is my favorite, but I might say pineapple's right up there now. I like it. It was creamy like the coconut. All right. You going in from the heat?
I reckon. About time to eat lunch.
You come unfed?
Or dinner, excuse me.
There you go. I'm gonna make a convert after you.
I don't know why there has to be this verbal battle between those two words.
It's dinner. Granny and Papa always called it dinner.
Then one of those words should be stricken from the English language.
Lunch.
Well, that'd be fine, but pick one.
You can have both. Like when I think of school and work and places, I think lunch. If I'm at home, I think dinner.
Why is that?
Like I eat in a lunchroom. I took my lunch to work every day. I don't know. It's just how it works in my mind. In the hallways of my mind, that's how it is.
It's because you've got stuff crossed up in the hallways of your mind.
No. I think of lunch as if you're going out to eat with somebody or something, it's lunch. Or at school or at work. But if you're at home, it's dinner.
Okay. Makes perfect sense.
It just is.
I just know I got to put something down my neck.
I like thinking about Pap and Granny and dinner. I'd like to be going down there and eating some of his fried taters.
Oh, yeah.
Or even Granny's tater cakes. And
Yeah.
some soup beans and cornbread.
Yeah.
Granny probably have some kind of cake or pie.
What's crazy is you can do the same thing that him or her done,
And it don't taste the same.
and it ain't the same.
I know.
And why is that? And we can cook,
Yeah.
but you're trying to get that same, I guess, I don't know what it is.
Years of experience, or people say love. I told Granny that the other day, and she laughed. She said, "That ain't it." I said, "Well, yeah."
But that's the truth. It's like Frankie and the biscuits. I tried to make biscuits like hers, and my goodness, her biscuits were good.
You just got to think about it. She'd been making them for 70 years.
Yeah,
But yeah, they were delicious. She made delicious biscuits.
She knew how much I liked them, and one year I took the girls trick-or-treating over there, and she come to the door with a bag of candy and a bag of biscuits for me.
That's so sweet.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Sweet. I forgot about it. Yeah, biscuits and her banana pudding. And I don't really like banana pudding, but I liked hers.
Gosh, yeah. It was outrageously good.
It was the best.
I reckon everything she cooked was like
Yeah,
that.
oh
It was
yeah,
just-
she was a good cook.
Yeah.
See, she cooked for years at the school, and that's when they actually cooked in those days, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
now it's not their fault. They just do things different. They do the prepackaged stuff, but they don't get to cook like they used to.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's go find you something to eat.
Right.